I am so happy to have you at the games on the sideline with me, and I can't wait for you to cheer me on next year when we're out there kicking ass. And so I'll see you guys next year. Hopefully I'm not at this event, and we're getting ready for another game in SoFi. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
That's how you make your dramatic entrance back to the 2026 season. As we welcome you into a Friday edition of Golic and Golic, the Stars were out, led by Matthew Stafford, and a photo finish MVP race. We'll get to the missing first place vote that may have cost Drake Maye his chance. And speaking of votes, the votes were tabulated, and the 2026 Hall of Fame class is ready for their enshrinement this summer. The great stories, the great moments, all on display for some of the game's best last night. And just 2 more sleeps. The day before Super Bowl 60. We'll give you the last-minute breakdown, the prop bets you need, and everything you want to know heading into the big game so you can enjoy yourself. One last Sunday of football in the 2025-26 season. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. here with you guys. Dad, you survived hosting your Super Bowl party last night. You reek like cigars so much I can smell it through the screen here. So good to see you, and I hope you've got enough in you for 2 more hours of the show this week.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. But it was a great Dick Cigars with the Stars party that myself and Brian Urlacher now host. Unfortunately, Coach can't really travel much anymore, but it's always I've been going to it for so many years, and it's always a big hit with the former players and current players come after the honors event, which we're going to talk about as well. It's a great kind of meeting place to kind of catch up with former teammates and new players talking to old players. And it's also, you have the 2 teams, the Patriots and Seattle, really starting to rest up for Super Bowl Sunday, while the parties now are really going to go into get kicked up a notch. And it's going to be a couple of late nights for a whole lot of people. Not this guy, but probably you and a lot of the other youngsters out there.
Hey, man, listen, I'm rolling into town tonight with fresh legs when it comes to that. I have hydrated all week. I've been getting to bed at a normal hour, rising at a normal hour. So I'm going to be coming in walking 10 toes down while the rest of my sports media brothers and sisters are all trying to scrape themselves up off the mat. And listen, they're going to need a little bit of that after last night. The NFL honors, as you mentioned, went on last night before a lot of the partying. And congratulations to all the award winners. As we went through this yesterday, certainly a lot of the names that you would expect, right? We'll talk to Rookie Defensive Player of the Year, Carson Swearinger from the Cleveland Browns in just a couple minutes on this show. Tetairoa McMillan wins after a sensational rookie year with the Panthers. Myles Garrett, the most obvious winner of the night in Defensive Player of the Year. CMC Comeback Player of the Year. JSN Offensive Player of the Year. We'll get to MVP, but Dad, we talked about one of the tightly contested races last night. Mike Vrabel, in addition to now getting to get ready to coach for the Super Bowl, he and Josh McDaniels both take home Head Coach of the Year and Assistant Coach of the Year honors last night. Deservedly so, would you say, for the staff?
Oh, I would agree. Now, there are other head coaches that I would not have had a problem with had they been named Coach of the Year. We talked about that a couple of days ago. There were certainly more than a few deserving coaches, so I would have been fine either way. But Josh McDaniels, I think without question, how he has helped develop Drake Maye and help leading this team. Obviously, Vrabes did as well, going from 4 wins last year to obviously double-digit wins this year and a berth in the Super Bowl. So I think he's kind of the classic example of great offensive coordinator who got a shot as a head coach, didn't work out, now goes back and is an offensive coordinator, and that kind of will be his station in life for the rest of his coaching career. But what a success he is at it. What he has done has been incredible, as with obviously with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, listen, for the Josh McDaniel question, if you're a New England fan, you hope, because, man, it'd be nice to have him around there. But I know that based on his past actions, he's clearly someone that wanted to be a head coach. And if he keeps having success like they're having in New England, I'm sure eventually someone's going to say, hey, I can fix him. We can be the right organization. So it's always the worry we talk about with hot coordinators. But no doubt the Patriots seem best positioned based off that to maybe hold on to this brain trust for a while and try and bring it all together. It was almost a clean sweep of the awards last night. And when I say almost, I mean it was painstakingly close. As Matthew Stafford, you heard there, wins the MVP, makes the announcement, much to the delight of Kyron Williams and the other Rams fans in attendance, that he's coming back next year, talking about that through the lens of his daughters. I don't want to take anything away from Matthew Stafford, but Dad, this debate today is going to be really interesting because it was an incredibly close vote. Matthew Stafford received 24 of the 51st place votes and finished with 366 points. Drake Maye finished with 23 first place votes and 361 points. Now, the first place votes count for 5 points. So doing some cocktail math, one more first place vote for Drake Maye would have meant they had tied and maybe split the same way we saw with Peyton Manning and Steve McNair in 2003. But instead, Josh Allen gets 2 first place votes. And then Justin Herbert received 1. Dad, do you have an issue with that? Sam Monson, who used to work at PFF, works for the 33rd team now, is a guy I've known for a while, copped to it and said, I was the guy that voted for Justin Herbert and laid out his reason. Do you have an issue with that and the fact that it may have cost Drake Maye a chance to take home at least part of this hardware?
I don't really, he owned up to it right away, and he explained his reasoning that saying Herbert put up great numbers with basically nothing around him, an offensive line that was basically decimated, and that he was able to put up great numbers. It's tough for me to argue somebody giving reasoning like that. I don't agree that Justin Herbert should have got a first place vote, but that's why you have a bunch of different humans, right, voting. They have different reasons. And there's part of me that says, okay, that was his reason. We can all say we disagree with it and we wouldn't have voted that way. But you know what? I in this day and age where we went through the Belichick, who voted against him, who didn't vote for him, who voted for him, is it anonymous? This guy stepped up, said he voted for Herbert, gave his reasons why. Again, I don't agree with them, but it's tough for me to sit there and chastise him for it.
Yeah, again, the reasoning, the guy had the worst offensive line in the NFL all season, and despite that, worked miracles in nearly every game. The O-line became 2/5 as bad as Stafford's O-line became 2/5 as bad as Herbert's for 5 minutes, and he became a turnover howitzer. He, meaning Justin Herbert, embodied value. I understand that. At the end of the day, what Justin Herbert was able to do this season was exemplary, but I do think high-end production of your team matters when you're talking about something like MVP. I've heard our friend Mina Kimes over at ESPN talk about that and her logic as someone who was a voter in why she voted for Drake Maye. And in Matthew Stafford, interesting note here on that regard and in that end, he's the first player to win MVP for a team outside of the top 2 seeds since Adrian Peterson did it in 2012. And since the 1970 merger, only 8 players have won MVP for non-division winners, including just 2 quarterbacks, the aforementioned Steve McNair in 2003 and then Peyton Manning in 2008. Now, we know this comes with the caveat that the NFC West was an absolute juggernaut, but Dad, as you move away from the controversy, because I'm with you, I disagree with it. I don't think Justin Herbert should have gotten a first place vote based on that. He was incredible. We can appreciate that. But I also don't think we have to tar and feather Sam Monson for going out here and voting for someone that people disagreed with. It is got to be unfortunate if you're Drake Maye to be that painfully close. But I think we could still look on the other side and say, for a lot of people, Matthew Stafford, very close call, but an incredible season, especially when you account the age and circumstances that got him there.
If Drake Maye would have been named MVP, we'd have been having this discussion. I'd have been fine with it. And Mina Kimes, I mean, your good buddy Mina Kimes, really laid out kind of the metrics of it, which of course I don't really understand much of, but she's smarter than I'll ever be or ever was. And the metrics she used, also they had 6 common opponents, the stats on common opponents, and I could see why she made a case for Drake Maye. You can make a case for Drake Maye. That's why this was as close as it was. You certainly had, again, I would not be sitting here going, oh my God, what are we doing if Drake Maye won? I wonder how much of it though was obviously Stafford statistically had a great year on the basic statistics, right? Yards, touchdowns, not double-digit interceptions and such, but you wonder how much came into it that he's 37 years old, probably going to be his last shot at an MVP, and these are human beings voting, right? So they may say, Drake Maye has a lot of time. Matthew Stafford doesn't have a lot of time, so that's going to tip the scales to Matthew Stafford. Again, that's why there are humans voting. They vote one way or another for different reasons.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the more it's kind of like that's deeply unfair considering we hear all the time from the team standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Guys say never take it for granted. You might never be back to this stage, and for one reason or another, maybe Drake Maye won't. We've seen plenty of great quarterbacks who don't sniff MVP votes, and so you don't want to take it for granted, but I think everyone involved acquitted their case as well. This would have probably been one of the more deserving cases for a split MVP, and instead, Matthew Stafford holds the award. Speaking of awards, last night we mentioned one of the most obvious defensive rookie of the year, an incredible performance by the Cleveland Browns defense overall, as you see the two dynamic award winners that help lead this unit. All right, excited to welcome in a man who brought home some hardware last night at the NFL Honors, Carson Swearinger, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, star linebacker for the Cleveland Browns, second-round pick out of UCLA, 157 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and gets to hold the trophy. So, Carson, congratulations, man. What was it like, last night finding out the news that you were going to take that home?
Thank you. It was pretty surreal being here and growing up watching the NFL a ton and everything like that, and so being able to be here and experience it all, and then to be able to go up on stage is pretty special. And I think it's just evidence of everybody that's helped me get there.
When did you feel comfortable in the defense coming in as a rookie from UCLA? When did you feel comfortable with the NFL game?
I think each week I was there, I was feeling more and more comfortable. I think obviously, you have some OTAs, you're trying to learn the defense, trying to, get in there, call the huddle, everything like that. And, it can be a lot, but, by the time we're in camp, by the time we're playing games, I was comfortable out there, and at the end of the day, you're just going out there and playing some football. And when you look at it like that, it's a game I've loved to play my whole life. And so, I was just excited to be on the field as much as I was.
I think the Cleveland Browns are also very excited to have you on the field this year and your guys' defense in general. So many great players. You obviously win this award. Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year overall after breaking the single-season sack record. I'm sure that's a guy, like you said, watching football, watching the NFL, you had seen plenty of in the lead-up. What was it like seeing him in person this year and playing behind him in that second level?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't realize, the kind of freak of nature he is. You see it on film, but you've seen it firsthand is even different. You walk past him in the facility and you're like, man, a guy that big should not be able to move that fast and that quick, and so being able to take the field with him it makes my job a whole lot easier. And every week it was exciting to watch, and then seeing him get the record and get the sacks is pretty special too, to be able to be a part of that.
Again, the defense was outstanding this year. And also, though, unfortunately, you guys lost your defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, who won't be there next year. But before we talk about that, how much did he help you in your rookie year?
Yeah, he was instrumental. I think obviously, a great defensive mind in terms of the play call and the scheme he runs and everything like that. But even more just, what he taught me throughout the year and everything that the confidence he had in me to go out there and just how he prepared us each week. And then I think the attitude he brought is unmatched. And, it was very easy to go out there and replicate, the attitude because he showed it himself. And so that was, pretty special.
What was your reaction when you heard the news he wouldn't be back?
Obviously, you always want to have some continuity and now that I'm comfortable with him and everything, it's always, you always want to run it back, but obviously, it's a business and that. And, I'm grateful for the year I had to play with him. And, I know whatever he's doing, he's going to be successful at. And, I'm excited to, whoever, is going to be calling the plays now, excited to go get to work and establish that relationship with them.
So, as Mike mentioned, 157 tackles, which was 6th in the league, by the way, defensive rookie of the year. How do you build upon such success your rookie year?
I think just keep doing the same thing that got me to this point, is just be willing to show up, go work hard, and and let the pieces fall where they may. Don't get too worried about the stats and everything like that. And you mentioned the tackles. If you were to ask me, I could probably only remember the missed tackles I had. So just trying to get less of those and hope the plays keep on coming with it.
Well, certainly some of the people you played made plays against, the Baltimore Ravens. You guys play them twice a year in the division, which means you saw plenty of the offense coordinated by your now head coach in Todd Monken. So now that he's going to be inside the building, when you were preparing for facing his offense in Baltimore, what stood out to you then about the way that he organized that group?
Yeah, I think, that offense has elite players all over the board, so you got to be ready for everything. And I just think the scheme wise, it played to all those players' strengths and really put them in positions to make plays. And when you have somebody that can do that, it leads to being to having a high powered offense that can move the ball down the field. So it's going to be exciting to get back in Cleveland and get to work with him.
What was the matchup like when you would have to tackle Derrick Henry, the big bruising running back?
Yeah, I think it's just, for me, it's just, make another tackle. I think at the end of the day, obviously preparing for it and everything's different. But once you're on the field, it's the football I've been playing since I was 8 years old. And as long as you keep that mindset, it makes everything slow down and you don't get too worried about who's across from you. It's just a matter of, all right, here's a guy I got to tackle. Let's go tackle him.
You did it very well at an incredibly high level. We know on the other side for you guys, you mentioned that mentality on defense. You guys had to weather a lot because we know the situation on offense was a little more volatile. You came in this rookie class with two quarterbacks in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders that both saw the field at different points. Obviously, tough situation for them. What did you think of the way that your two classmates coming out in this draft class handled that?
I think, they handled it great. It's hard to go in there, as a quarterback and lead an offense and call plays. And then, you have all the outside noise and everything like that accompanied with it. And I think both of them handled all that situation great. And I think our whole rookie class, really came in and, established themselves. And I'm excited for how this rookie class is going to, build in the future and create the culture here.
It's an incredible group that you guys have to work with there as we get started with the Todd Monken era in Cleveland. Carson, congratulations on all the success, man. Enjoy the rest of this week and the pats on the back. Well-deserved and well-earned, man. We appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, coming up next, if we're going to talk about award winners, we'll save the best for last. Beef was on parade last night, and we'll celebrate the best of it next. Welcome back to Golic Golic, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. We mentioned the NFL honors last night. We saved the best for last. The first year of the Protector of the Year award getting handed out. Shout out to Dion Dawkins, friend of the program, speaking it into existence a year ago. And in year one, Joe Thuney takes it home. And amongst a sea of great candidates here, one of the best in the business and has been for a long time, stops in New England and in Kansas City, where he was a part of championship runs for both teams, helped establish a new foundation for the Chicago Bears offensive front. And in year one, Dad, there are deserving candidates. You could have made an argument for a few of them. I think between Joe Thuney's continued incredible performance at this stage of his career, but also the first one of these awards almost feels like a bit of a lifetime achievement award as well for services rendered for a guy that's quietly been one of the best in the NFL for a long time. And I think only recently really gotten a lot of the appreciation he deserves for his versatility and the fact that everything he does is teach tape technically.
Yeah, I mean, to get bumped out to left tackle in Kansas City from guard position, which is certainly difficult to do, to going and helping an interior Chicago offensive line that was new from guard to guard. And they gave up the Bears 2 years ago in Caleb Williams' rookie year, gave up 68 sacks. Now, certainly that was the O-line's fault, and it was Caleb Williams' fault. But this year, that number dropped to 24. Kudos to both the line and Caleb Williams for that. But Thuney not giving up a sack. Others, though, that were finalists, Garrett Bowles from the Broncos, he didn't give up a sack this year. Aaron Brewer from the Dolphins, Creed Humphreys from Chicago, Quinn Miners from the Broncos, and Penei Sewell from the Lions. So, and I'm glad they got a group of guys to pick the award. It wasn't up to writers, right? It was up to guys who played the position. LaCharles Bentley, Jason Kelsey, Sean O'Hara, Orlando Pace, Will Shields, Andrew Whitworth. So because that Mike, as you well know, is the hardest position to kind of judge unless you've played the position or played the game.
Yeah, it certainly get to vote in the Joe Moore Award in college football every year, and it's a similar thing. You need people that have the eye for that position, that are going to spend the time with it and know what it takes to succeed. And that panel of guys you mentioned know just that. So congratulations to Joe. Incredibly well-deserving and appropriate given more of the news of the day, Dad, when it comes to protection. We talked yesterday about the fact that Eagles' longtime offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland was stepping down from the team in his role there. He might not be alone. Longtime Eagles reporter Jeff McClain and Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network both kind of confirmed lurking concerns that Lane Johnson, the future Hall of Fame right tackle, and Landon Dickerson, the all-pro guard, both may be contemplating retirement this offseason. Johnson much further along in a career that's been a Hall of Fame-worthy one, but they mentioned Dickerson only 5 years into his career, but we saw last year, played through so much pain, has played so hurt, body beat up going back to college. The idea that the Eagles could lose two of the best offensive linemen in the league and the best offensive line coach in the league in the same offseason is legitimate franchise path-altering stuff for a Birds team that thought their problems were strictly with play calling at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, losing Jason Kelce 2 years ago, Mekhi Becton last year, and then the possibility of Landon and of Lane would be devastating to this old line that was considered the best with the best offensive line coach, and what it deteriorated to, and how it could continue to hurt the run game, which certainly was hurt last year as well, and have to go more to a passing game, which again, one of the reasons that I believe they change offensive coordinators to a young one in Sean Mannion, but it'll bring definitely more motion, more stacking, more a variation of formations to try and free up the receiver. So that will be good timing as far as that's concerned. But boy, oh boy, just in a matter of 2 years, if those two guys do retire, you're talking basically 4 starters from 2 years ago will be gone.
Yeah, and I no disrespect, going to kind of move Mekhi Becton to the side in that conversation, because I don't think he exists in the tax bracket these other guys do.
Right.
But all that is to say, like yesterday, I said Jeff Stoutland leaving was cracks in the foundation, right? Because with all that talent, guys that knew and had been coached by him, even if they were asked to do something different with the next guy, they know they've got that time under task. If you lose 2 of those guys now that were big standard bearers in a room that was led by, and the standard was led by, Jeff Stoutland, now all of a sudden you're talking about a crumbling foundation in front of this team. And it might be offset by play calling. Maybe Sean Mannion will come in and they'll cook up enough with all the weapons that they've got there to make it work. But man, if I'm an Eagles fan, I've got serious concerns about what my team's going to look like going forward. And again, we're unsure of the role the head coach played in it. The reports yesterday that apparent disrespect felt by Jeff Stoutland based on the process there is not a ringing endorsement of everyone in that building and how they handled one of the best to ever do it at that position. So we'll wait and see more on that. Hopefully those guys come back. They're great for football. They're great for the Eagles, and they're guys we love seeing on the field. Coming up next, though, speaking of guys we love seeing on the field, Maxx Crosby, one of the best in the business. We'll look and discuss his future in Las Vegas next here on Golic and Golic. Welcome back to Golic and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. As we come to the end of Super Bowl week, we'll make it defensive and bring in our next guest, Maxx Crosby, kind enough to join us now, Raiders All-Pro defensive end, here on behalf of Saks Underwear, which we're certainly excited to hear about. But Max, good to talk to you again, man. How you doing?
Absolutely. Good to see you guys. It's always an honor.
No,
thanks, man.
Likewise, man. We're happy to have you here. And I guess just like, first off, like, how are you doing? I know the end of your season certainly wasn't the way you wanted on a lot of fronts, especially being shut down at the end of the year. So how have you been with some time now at the end of the season and time away from that moment?
Yeah, I've been great. My main focus has just been on getting healthy. I had to get surgery. That's something I knew I had to get done back in September. I tore my meniscus week 3 and played all year. So about 14 weeks with that injury. Something that I was dealing with, but it was manageable, and I was out there and able to go out there and dominate and do what I do, which is, a lot of people didn't really know what I had going on. But at the same time, if I can go, I can go. It's something I've done my whole career. I've had 8 surgeries now. Definitely every single time you got to get a surgery and to go through rehab, it can be tough, but it's really just mentally how you're going to lock in. So for me, it's already, February 6th, and I'm I'm just finishing my 4th week now of rehab. I'm lifting, I'm doing my thing, and I feel incredible mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm in an incredible place. Focus on, just dominating the day and the details, and being with my girls, being there with my daughter, especially on a daily basis. During the season, I don't really get to see her much because of how I work and the obsession part of it, where I'm in there all day and night. But now, I'm able to get in the building, before 6 and be home by lunchtime around 2. So I get to spend at least 3 good hours with her, and really be there as a dad. And that's been probably the best thing ever, because she's growing up fast. She's 3 now, and just being able to have that real dad time, that daddy daughter time. There's nothing better. She's my little twin and my shadow. So she's been incredible too. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, there is nothing better than that, without question. As by example, I get to do a show with my son now, but even though he doesn't really bend the knee toward me or respect what I say, but that happens with age. You talk about playing with injuries, playing with pain. We all played a sport where we know that's what you do. So how tough was it, like mentally? Being told you're going to get shut down at the end of a season?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot to it. I'm really not going to talk about, but yeah, I was not happy. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, it was, yeah. I'm not, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I was not happy.
That's cool. That's cool.
My stance has not changed. But yeah.
Don't blame you.
Has your relationship, I mean, it feels funny to say this because I see you wearing silver and black right now. Did that change your relationship with the organization? Like, how are you feeling?
I talked about this with Colin and a couple other people as well. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. For me, everyone knows what I'm about. Everyone knows what I am and my actions, and the first one in, last one out, lead from the front, lead by example all year round in the building every day. That's what I am. So then, when things aren't necessarily going our way, now it's like I'm being, I'm told what I have to do when it's not typically, I don't even know how to explain it without saying something I probably shouldn't say. So I'm gonna just keep it simple.
Yep.
Everyone, nobody really knows what's going on and what happened. But I'm gonna just leave it at that. Whenever that time comes, I might. But I'm choosing peace over violence, and I'm just content on doing what I need to do on a daily basis. But yeah, it's just about trust, and it's about action. For me, I people can say one thing but do the other thing. For me, what my actions are, what I'm about. I live by that code and those principles, and I like truth and honesty, and that's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? If you want to tell me something that, if you want to tell me the truth and I don't want to hear it, I might still say F you, but at least I'll respect the fact that you're being straight up with me. That's just how I am and how I was raised, and that's how I feel. So yeah, that's just part of it, but I'm doing great. Overall, mentally, like, I really am great. Like, I love my teammates. My teammates are the ones that voted me captain. I take a lot of pride in that. There's a lot of incredible people. I'll be, like I said, this Raiders shield is tatted on my body. I love the Raiders. You know what I mean? I embody everything that is. And Mark Davis is incredible. Me and him have had an incredible relationship since he's been in the league. Not many people can say that about, player to owner, but me and him are incredibly close. So yeah, I have great relationships, throughout this building for the most part.
And listen, for the season not going well, obviously you're a great player. Talk about another one, a young one in Brock Bowers. Just how quickly he has emerged as one of the top tight ends in the league.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. The one thing about him that I love the most is like his just demeanor. He's never phased. He's never too high, too low. He's just still at all times. You never see him get messed with. As far as like competition wise, like, he's ultra competitive. He's really quiet, but you could tell like he's locked in on what he needs to do, and that's just being unguardable. He's so quick and so big. catches everything. He's just one of those matchup nightmares that you don't want to see lined up across from you. So when you have another guy like that on the field with you, it's we're not on the field together at the same time, but just being able to watch him on a daily basis and seeing a guy that young just looks so developed and so like mature is honestly is rare. And that's why he's already got 2 Pro Bowl nods and an All-Pro, in his first 2 years. He's, the future is, super bright for that kid. I love that guy.
I say you guys do have him, Ashton Genty. You're sitting there with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I don't know if you can comment on it yet because it's not official. A lot of people assume Clint Kubiak going to be named, the next head coach after the Super Bowl. But I guess all that is to say, when you look at the future, I know rebuild is a maybe tough way to put it. Do you feel like you guys are close? Like, do you feel like you can be a part of bringing this franchise back sooner than later with what is on the horizon for your team?
Yeah, I mean, no matter what in this league, every year is a different year. And I've had years where I had all the expectations in the world and like, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. I've had expectations that, damn, this season's over, and then we go to the playoffs. Like, that's the part of it. You just can't ride that roller coaster. So I think it's really it comes down to the work. If you have a lot of guys in the building that love ball, and they're really about it, not just talk about it, and you have people in the coaching staff and the people in the front office that, are trustworthy people and that, know about the right things, you're going to have a really good chance, if everything's aligned and everyone's on the same path and mission. So, every year is, like I said, is a different journey, but, it really all just starts with the work and the attention to detail.
Speaking of every year is different, you're going into your 7th year, certainly a big-time veteran. What's been the biggest difference of when you first got in the league to now?
Yeah, I mean it's changed a lot. I'm going into my 8th year. It's kind of crazy. I still feel like a rook. You know what I mean? I feel like a young guy still. I'm still young. I'm 28, but time flies. I'm a seasoned vet now, and I've seen a lot, and I've been around a lot, and I've seen what good looks like. I've seen what bad looks like. I've seen what culture-wise, like what it's supposed to look like, what is not. And you just take note of everything. I think that's the most important thing of being a professional and being a leader is like you got to absorb all the information. You can't just when things are good, okay, this is how it's going to be forever and whatever. You also got to learn from the bad. And honestly, you might learn more from the bad experiences because you want to be as far away from that experience again. And I've dealt with that personally. And that's, like I talk about, like, people are asking me a million questions. I got rumors about, where is he going? Every single day there's somebody speaking for me and doing all these PR runs, talking for me when it's complete BS. And it's like, in the past, I've like really reacted, and this is, and this person, we need to hire this person, and doing all that, trying to do too many jobs. And for me, like I've learned, like that's not my job. My job is to be the best D end in the National Football League. My job is to be the best leader, best teammate, best, the first one in, last one out. That's what I am, and that's what I aspire to be. And I've continuously tried to fine tune that every single day and find another level I can go to. And that's why I'm here. I'm in the building every single day. And that's just, people are going to talk, people are going to say certain things, but ultimately you got to be a sponge. You got to be humble. You got to be obsessed with being the best at what you do. And, you got to have that delusional confidence that, people are going to say is delusion at first. And then all of a sudden they're going to call you a genius because you're the only one that's seen it. And that's what has got me to this point. I've been through all of, a lot of struggles and things like that, but without my teammates, without having great mentors and people that help me in my corner, I wouldn't be here. So it's a constant, puzzle you're trying to figure out and trying to perfect, and it's never going to be perfect, but if you're chasing that, you're going to have a chance. So that's so I tell all my guys, tell my young guys every single day, like it's a constant quest to, be the best version of you.
And that's my bad. I shortchanged you a year. Forgot about the rookie year where you were in Oakland before Vegas. So
yeah.
I don't want to shortchange you a year.
There you go.
No, you're good.
No, every one of those.
You would have said 3 year. If you would have said 3 year vet, I wouldn't have said nothing. I'd be like, hell yeah.
No. I got to get it right.
No. Hey, respect where it's due, considering, like you said, the incredible journey that it's been for you in this league. The journey that brought you here with us, the partnership with Sax Underwear. Again, maybe the most fitting namesake of any brand partnership I've seen this week. And you got pictures of your underwear being blasted off everywhere. What can you tell us about what you guys got going on?
It's crazy. I never thought I'd be an underwear model, but look at us. We're living life. But truthfully, they've been an incredible partner. As you can see, the 2 custom limited edition underwears we just dropped. Those ones have my logo on it, my personal logo, and those have all 3 of my pit bulls. Everyone knows I'm a big pit bull supporter with my foundation and the people around me. So I got 3 pit bulls myself. So I'm like, why not put them on some underwear? Makes perfect sense. So Sax underwear, best in the game, period, point blank. I'm not just saying that. I wear them every single day. All my people around me that, that need underwear, I tell them exactly where they need to go, and I'll supply them if I have to. But it's the best underwear in the game right now. No question.
Hey, the best in the game for the best in the game seems fitting on a lot of levels. Max, always a ton of fun catching up with you, man. Thanks so much for the time, and best of luck getting healthy and getting ready this offseason. We can't wait to see you back on the field.
Hey, man. Thank you, guys. It's always great to see you.
Great stuff from Maxx Crosby. And again, to have that confidence to share yourself and your underwear across the entire world to see. No wonder why that guy's on a trajectory that right now could have him one day as a guy wearing a gold jacket. The guys that will be wearing a gold jacket starting this summer, also part of the festivities last night at NFL Honors. The 2026 class here includes first-timers Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald, both getting in as first-ballot Hall of Famers. Adam Vinatieri and Luke Kuechly, both in on year 2. And then Roger Craig. For my money, Dad, they put out the videos of the guys being told where now it's a former Hall of Famer, usually with a relationship to them, goes and gets to break the news. For my money, Roger Craig, who again made it as a senior finalist, had a multi-decade wait for this moment. Now getting to see that, his excitement was a really, really cool moment to see, and a reminder of, maybe denied, not delayed, as often said by our Notre Dame head football coach, Marcus Freeman. Certainly seemed to be the sentiment there for Roger Craig. Pretty cool moment.
Well, and obviously he was in the senior group, so he certainly wasn't guaranteed anything. Like, we all knew Luke Kuechly was going to get in. He quite honestly should have been in on his first ballot. We knew Larry and Drew were going to get in. I'll get to Vinatieri in a second. But for Roger Craig, he could have been on the last legs of the possibility of getting in. So that has to be a big sigh of relief and a big smile on his face. Very, very impressive out of him. An incredible career played against him. Vinatieri, if you would have said 3 New England Patriots are up for the Hall of Fame this year and only 1 will get in, Adam Vinatieri, Robert Kraft, or Bill Belichick, I would imagine not 99.9%, but 100% would have said Bill Belichick. And it would not only that, it's because Adam Vinatieri is only the 3rd kicker. Jan Stenrud and Morton Anderson are the only 2 other kickers. Vinatieri, the leading scorer all time in the NFL, is now the 3rd kicker and had so many great moments with the Patriots. But who would have thought he'd have been, of the triumphant Patriots, that he'd have been the only one to go in?
I think it creates the funniest subplot for next year, where we'll get ready to do this all again. And I'm sure the blowback that we've seen this year will prompt some changes, as often is the case. When bad things happen to prominent Patriots in big-time moments, usually rules are made to change all of that stuff. We saw that for years with Tom Brady on the field. I'd have to imagine we'll probably get close to that here, and both of them will probably get in next year. But it does create the fun tension of Adam Vinatieri got in as a second-ballot Hall of Famer. So now, if one or both of those guys doesn't get in, you are at least tacitly endorsing the idea in the Hall of Fame that Adam Vinatieri is more important to the Patriot dynasty than Bill Belichick or Robert Kraft, which is both untrue and hilarious, even if we both agreed that he was a no-question lock Hall of Famer at some point, given what he had done.
And you know what is even more interesting? Guess who's on the ballot for the first time next year? Another prominent New England Patriot. Yes.
Yeah.
And he's getting in. He's getting in. Gronk on the ballot for next year. I mean, listen, Belichick has to get in. I don't know about Kraft if he'll get in, but this would be unbelievable because Gronk, you look at this list, the lock to me, Gronk is the one lock. I think Ben will eventually get in, but I don't know if he'll, like Eli, I don't know if he'll get in on first ballot, but Gronk is a virtual lock.
I would say, I mean, the names I look up there and see, like Gronk, Adrian Peterson for sure going to be in the mix there. Richard Sherman going to be a Hall of Famer. The rest get interesting. Andrew Whitworth's going to be a really interesting candidacy. Ben Roethlisberger, I do think, falls into that bucket with like Eli and Phillip Rivers. Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown going to produce some of the most uncomfortable media tours that we've probably ever seen in the midst of that. But it's an interesting group. But you're right. Gronk, to me, a lock first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, we have plenty of this combo around Travis Kelce. There's a legitimate combo to have that Gronk is the best tight end of all time. And it's not far-fetched, and he should absolutely. Let's put it this way. If we got into this debate this time next year and you said to name one of those Patriots, Bill's probably still the first one that should make it there, but Gronk is inches behind him given what a monster he was for so long for that team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the only, like this year we thought we had two locks, right, in Brees and Fitzgerald. Yeah, I only think there's one automatic as far as a first ballot, and I think that is Gronk.
Yeah, it's interesting. But congratulations to that whole group from last night. Yes. We got to wax poetic about those guys from the other day, but a pretty impressive group of guys, a bunch of whom have the hardware that people are going to be chasing this weekend. So coming up next, we'll hit our usual 4-down Super Bowl edition with 4 of the biggest questions heading into Sunday. Next on Golic and Golic. Golic and Golic, Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., plenty of big news coming up in the next hour. Kyle Van Noy going to stop by the show here. We'll talk to him. We'll look at the Olympics. We'll do some prop betting with Gil Alexander as we roll forward. But if you've been around and watched the show for any amount of time, during football season, we like to get our hands dirty and play a little 4-down. So let's get back to it. And let's start off with our first question of the Super Bowl. Dad, speaking of getting down and dirty, Drake Maye's legs been the story of so much of this season. Can the Patriots win if Seattle finds a way to mute his effectiveness on the ground?
Well, I mean, listen, he did throw for over 4,000 yards, right? So he can get it done with his arms, but he had the most first down scrambling, and that extends series, demoralizes the defense. I'm going to say no. I think he needs at least 50 yards rushing for them to be in it and win this game. So I'm going to say no.
I would agree, less because Drake Maye's not a capable passer and more so because this is a crime of necessity. We've talked about Will Campbell, but when you look at the whole left side of that offensive line, the rookies with him and Jared Wilson at left guard, Will Campbell, 12.1% pressure percentage on the season, including playoffs, third highest among left tackles. Jared Wilson, 9.4 percentage, highest among left guards this season. It's been a tough sledding. It's looked like at times 2 rookies, especially in the playoff run with the guys they've played against. And you've seen Drake Maye sack 15 times so far in this run. Now, Seattle only has 3 sacks in 2 games, but we know this is a group with a lot of capable guys along the line of scrimmage. So to me, this is a proxy for Drake Maye is going to have to make some plays and bail out his offensive line because there's no safe harbor against this group that they're getting ready to go against. I absolutely think you're right on that front. Let's go to the end of the game here, and let's talk both these quarterbacks. Game on the line, 2-minute drill to win it all. Which quarterback would you rather have? Resurgent Sam Darnold or second-year MVP runner-up Drake Maye?
So this isn't just about the quarterbacks. One of the things is about what you just said. Drake Maye has been sacked a lot this postseason. Drake Maye has fumbled the ball a lot this postseason. And Sam Darnold has Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was the best offensive player in the league this year. So that way, but I think Drake Maye's the better passer than Sam Darnold. But I think given all those other tangible things out there, the pass rush that Drake Maye has felt, I would probably say Sam Darnold, because at the end of the day, he has been sacked less than Drake Maye in the postseason, even though he has thrown some interceptions in the regular season, but he has the best receiver who the best receiver was this year in football in Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I'm saying just quarterback. Like, I'm going team agnostic here, and I'm saying Drake Maye, considering this guy finished runner-up for the MVP and was sensational for a lot of this year. Like, you look, both of them, I whittled it down on next-gen stats, fourth quarter, 1-possession game where you're behind, and the stats pretty close in a lot of ways. Completion percentage over expected, 3% higher for Darnold, 7.3% higher for Maye. 50% success rate for Darnold, 48.5 for Maye, minus 11 EPA per dropback for Darnold, minus 0.15 for Maye. Very similar players, but I think overall what Maye has done in those circumstances this year would get the win for me, and I would pick him. Let's go on to third down here, or our third point in the stands. I forget how we do this. Which non-quarterback is going to have the biggest impact on Super Bowl 60 with some of the names like you just mentioned?
Oh, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba. Again, he's a guy that gets open. He's a guy that, had 119 receptions, almost 1,800 yards, 10 touchdowns. So you knew he was getting the ball. Again, Clint Kubiak does a great job in scheming him to be open, but Jackson Smith-Njigba does a great job in getting open. You know he's going to get the ball thrown to him. He's had a ton of targets. You know he's going to get his receptions. I think it'll be an interesting – will they match up Christian Gonzalez against him in this game? But you make me pick one non-quarterback, I'm going with the Offensive Player of the Year.
Great choice. The only reason I would go with Kenneth Walker III is because we've seen at some times this Seattle team has been better when its ground game's been going. They leaned on them a lot down the stretch of the season. Certainly the passing attack, especially the deep passing attack for a lot of the year, was a hallmark for Sam Darnold and company. But when the turnovers crept up, they put the ball in his belly. And again, because they have no Zach Charbonnet there, it's all on Kenneth Walker, the pass protection, everything that comes with it. And so I think as he goes, the early portion of this game, a lot of the success or failure will be dictated for the Seahawks, and he'll have a big swing. Last but not least, fourth down, let's talk about the coaches here. Which of these coaches more valuable to their team? I know Mike Vrabel just won Coach of the Year, but you've also got Mike Macdonald as the defensive play caller for this team. Which one do you think has the greater value?
Listen, Vrabel has made this team believe, right? Made them believe they could be exactly where they are, and they shouldn't be surprised that that's where they are, that they have the talent to get there. But I'm going to say Mike Macdonald because his fingerprints are all over the best defense in football, right? So he makes the calls. He sits at the chessboard playing against Josh McDaniels. What a matchup that is, by the way. But I would say for the game, Mike Macdonald, because he calls the defensive plays.
It's a really compelling case, especially when you look at the side-by-side of what Baltimore became when he left and what Seattle became there. But, man, we talked to Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, who played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, and it's hard not to buy into the value that he brings as someone that knows how to push all those right butts in the organization. Surprise, surprise, I'll take the reigning Coach of the Year. How brave. Coming up next, let's talk about more big moves being made in the AFC North and talk to a player who knows all about that division here on Golic Golic. Welcome back to Golic Golic, Mike Golic Jr. and Sr. 1 hour left before we cut you lunatics loose on the weekend and the last bit of football we get to see in 2026. That being said, still plenty of great stuff to get to. Kyle Van Noy going to join us, free agent pass rusher, in about 10 minutes. But we got some interesting news and notes as the coaching cycle not quite done with the last few remnants here around the NFL. Big news for Sean McVay's School for Wayward Boys. Kliff Kingsbury, it was announced, is joining the Rams coaching staff. Not sure in what capacity. The former Commanders offensive coordinator, one-time Cardinals and Texas Tech head coach, now gets to come out and enjoy sunny Los Angeles and inevitably get ready to be named for an offensive coordinator gig or a head coaching job in like a year or two. It usually doesn't take long out here in the NFL version of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Meanwhile, Jim Schwartz officially resigns as the Browns defensive coordinator. Spent the last 3 years there as the DC. We talked about that with Carson Swearinger a little bit earlier in the show, but makes official, Dad, the hard feelings that we saw on display after the season, where he was a candidate for the open job for a long time. They go and hire Todd Monken. We hear about Jim Schwartz packing up his offense, telling everyone bye, and then hear maybe that reconciliation's possible before the Todd Monken introductory press conference fired off a couple stray shots that maybe made that feel less likely. So how big of a loss is this for Cleveland at this juncture?
It's a huge loss, right? I mean, it's a big loss. I mean, and you're right, for Monken to say the line about Jim Schwartz saying, well, Schwartz isn't chipping on Myles Garrett. I mean, it's and I wonder if it would have been different had Jim Schwartz not been interviewed for the head coaching job. If they just said, we love you as a coordinator, we're going to bring in another coach, maybe it would have been the same outcome. Maybe he would have felt slighted, not even getting interviewed for the job. but it's certainly going to hurt them. This was by far the best part of the team and kept them in so many games with that defense. Obviously great players, but Schwartz is an aggressive, attacking type of D coordinator, which players absolutely love. He'll have to sit a year because he has a year on his contract, kind of like Mike Tomlin has years left on his contract. If he were to go somewhere, the team would be deserving of some compensation for it, so he'll probably sit the year. But, yeah, this is definitely going to hurt Cleveland.
And I understand when people look at that and Todd Monken's point saying this is, Jimmy's and Joe's more than it is X's and O's. But much like we talked about with the Jeff Stoutland situation there, where even if you assumed all the talent was coming back, this, Dad, part of what a coach's job is to come in and set the standard every day. This is what we allow and this is what we don't. And players certainly can lead that too, especially at the NFL level where players and coaches are more eye to eye. But there's no substitute for a guy that's unflinching and saying, we're going to do everything until we get it right. We're not going to allow for that to creep in. And that sounds like day one stuff to everyone on the outside, but I promise not every coach cares that much. Not every coach has the ability to come in or the desire to come in and be that fanatical in how they approach all this stuff. And clearly, Jim Schwartz has been able to set that kind of standard on this defense. So in both cases, to me, it's funny. Know your teammate is something we always say, right? You got to know what each guy responds to in your organization. And it seems clear based on the reporting in Philadelphia, not enough people knew their teammate and Jeff Stoutland and how they handled certain understandable maybe tweaks to the offense last year. And in this building in Cleveland, not enough people knew their teammate and Jim Schwartz as they positioned this coaching search as one where they hoped the incumbent candidate would want to keep Jim Schwartz on the staff, apparently never once bothering to ask Jim Schwartz if he didn't get the job, if he'd actually feel like sticking it around. So this is one of those things I still think makes the Browns look bad in hindsight. And certainly in a year's time, much like I said with Stout, we're going to watch some team get better in a hurry when Jim Schwartz comes over to coordinate that defense.
Yeah, you wonder if the Browns thought, we'll throw him a bone and we'll interview him for the head coaching job, make him feel good, but we have no intention of hiring him for the head coach, and it may have backfired on him. Again, I don't know what the situation would have been had they not interviewed him at all and just felt he was a defensive coordinator and not a head coaching candidate. But yeah, there's a couple situations where they just feel the hierarchy, the head coach, most important guy, which obviously normally he is, but there's assuaging the assistant coaches around you, especially if you want one on your staff. And because the Browns are a bad organization, it makes them look bad, but I don't know if there was an out for them if they had no intention of hiring Jim Schwartz. Do you then interview him to make him feel good? Do you not interview him and let him know he's not going to be the head coach and he gets ticked off at that? I don't know if there was a win for Cleveland in this situation. And you look at Cleveland overall and you're like, well, that's just normal for Cleveland, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a win. The win would be don't position it publicly as we hope the new coach wants to keep him on if you haven't explored what these feelings are like. I don't know. To me, like you said, the Browns have a well-earned reputation, and I'm not willing to shoot them bail in a spot where it looks like they don't deserve any here. Hey, you know what? The Baltimore Ravens also in that division and a team dealing with some turnover in their coaching positions here, specifically their defense. Now, Jesse Minter coming into town to try and see if he can get them back to the point that they were at under former defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald. All right, very excited to welcome in our next guest here, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl linebacker Kyle Van Noy, kind enough to hang out with us right now. You can check him out. One More Shot, a Substack. Kyle, I know in this day and age of player-led media, there's a lot of guys in different spots. You've got, certainly your show as well, the KVN show on YouTube. I don't know about a lot of players on Substack. What brought you over there?
Yeah, Substack's great. I think it's a element into my game off the field that we really wanted to dive into. It's a platform that's untapped. They're doing a lot of good things. I wanted to be one of the first on there, as well as LinkedIn, really diving in. Those two, I feel like, are an untapped market for professional athletes that have a lot in common with the folks that are on there. Been able to take what I've learned on the field, situations that I have on the field, and be able to teach them off the field in a way of business or in any way that you could take from what I'm saying on there. It's been amazing. One more shot's really good. I really believe in it because I feel like I've been given one more shots so many times, not only in my career, but my life. And I'm just trying to say that anyone that feels like they're down and out, you just need one more shot, but you got to get ready for it. You can't just sit there and wait for it. You got to go get it.
Well, speaking of your one more shot, or who knows how many more shots, as you're a free agent now, 12, 13 years in the league, what's next? What are you looking to do?
Great question. I'm honestly keeping all my options open. So if people start bidding for me in the media, hey, we got to look at that. But if there's teams that want to bid for me to keep playing, hey, we got to look at it. So I'm really have all my options open. I would really like to still play, but I understand that statistic wise, I didn't have my best year, but me playing and still have an impact without having stats. I mean, I feel I got double teamed more than premier pass rushers like Will Anderson. You can go check all the stats you want. I was double teamed up there with TJ Watt. So, everyone, when I say that, is like, what? No, I'm like, go watch the film. It's crazy. After Matabike went down, our star in the middle, it was tough sledding for your boy. And no excuses, because I didn't do a good enough job of preparing for double teams in the off season. I watched a lot of people do chips this year. It didn't come to fruition with the effort that I put during the season. So this off season, we're going to do a lot of just getting better when you get the slide every time, or when you have double chippers. So we're going to do a lot of work with that.
Well, like you said, that being ready for that one more shot sounds like it won't be an issue for you with all that preparation. And listen, there's plenty of people around this league with familiarity with you, including your former head coach most recently, and John Harbaugh in a new location. How surprised were you to see someone that had been so synonymous with Baltimore your entire career around the league, let alone in playing for him, end up being shown the door after this season?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I was more surprised to see he just got another $100 million. I felt bad for 2.2 seconds, and then he gets another $100 million, and coaches are all guaranteed. So it's like, do we feel that bad for him? I think he's going to do great. I think he's going to rock the media up there in New York, in New Jersey, New York area. I think he's going to get Jackson Dart ready to go. He's got a really good defense led by Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. Burns played excellent this year. I don't think people realize how good he played. It's just Myles Garrett played elite. And so he was also on a bad team. So when you're on a bad team, you don't get looked at or talked about the way you should. But that dude played amazing this year. So I expect big things for the Giants. I'll be really interested to see how Neighbors comes back from his ACL. I think they need to get rid of that turf and MetLife trash. But I like Harbaugh up there. I think he's going to do good.
So you have a very veteran coach in John Harbaugh leaving Baltimore and continuing on, as you said, with his $100 million. So you're right. We don't really feel sorry for him. What do you think of now? Yeah. What do you think now of a first-time head coach and former Baltimore Raven coach, Jesse Minter, taking over?
Yeah, I've heard through the grapevines he's been really, really hungry to get a head coaching gig. So he was ready for this opportunity. I mean, showcasing his defense the last 2 years, just playing at a very, very high level, being top, 7, 8 in the league over the last 2 seasons and both seasons in like every category, which is amazing. I think it comes with the familiarity with the Ravens organization, how they work, what they believe in, what the standard it has always been defense. With how the defense played the last 2 seasons after Mike Macdonald left, I think they're ready to have that at the helm. I think he's going to do a good job. I said, a while ago when I was on NFL Game Day that I believe they want to X's and O's guys. I believe that this young generation of talent and kids want X's and O's coaches. You see it across the league. Those that are X and O driven base. I mean, you only have a couple leader of men. You know, you could say Vrabel is, but Vrabel still knows defense. He coached defense. He called plays. Harbaugh is like the last of the dying breed of the leader of men. I can't think of anybody else right now at the top of my head, but you just see a lot of head coaches being X's and O's and calling plays. It's just the new wave. It's the new NFL.
Well, one of those guys renowned for the X's and O's, someone you played with in 2023 or 4, I should say, and Mike Macdonald, who now is coaching the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. What makes him such a great teacher? I hear that word come up a lot describing him and his approach to defense.
And that's why I think the NFL is lacking right now, personally, at the coaching level, is the teacher aspect, being able to be a brainiac, because a lot of them are, but being able to articulate it to players in a way where they understand, they see the vision, where you can put it up on the board in an awesome manner, where you can teach and hold that accountability and hold the room, and you're able to teach young men and, medium older men like myself, just the ins and outs of your scheme, and then to be able to put it out on the field at a high level and a high clip, and you're able to call plays at the exact time, and it just flows, and you build the trust in the players by putting them in positions to succeed, and you're able to continue to show and grow off that. That's why he's where he's at. He's very, very good at that.
You mentioned the medium-aged players like yourself. You came into the league in 2014. What's been the biggest difference in the game from when you got in the league to now?
Oof. Man, that is a great question. There's a couple things. I would say I feel like I'm hating on coaches, but one of the biggest things where it's now a profession it's like when I first came in, the coaches, it was what can I got to do everything in my power for the player. Like I don't know how to describe it, but Tom Brady's talked about just the developments of quarterbacks and different things like that. But, somebody that comes to mind is Dante Scarnecchia, Hall of Fame Patriots coach. He was very, very accountable, very hard on his O-line. I think about a guy like Trent Brown, who is kind of very talented from the Niners, big mountain, but Niners couldn't get the best out of him. What up, Justin? Sorry. And when he got to New England, the teacher of Dante Scarnecchia took him into an all-pro Pro Bowl and made him the highest paid right tackle, because he did everything in his power to make sure he was on his P's and Q's, make sure that he was teaching him, making sure that teacher element, like, hey, my job is to get you paid. Like that's my job to get you paid. And now I feel like it's the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Another thing is, I feel like there was more bruiser running backs. Eddie Lacy was there. Marshawn Lynch was there. Adrian Peterson. You're now seeing more scat back speed. A-Chain, Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. This kid coming out, Love. You're not, I would say Derrick Henry's type, even though he's one of one, but the big bruiser back is a dying breed. And I would just say the O-line blocking is way different. They're like flat setting where quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar drop super deep. But then you have guys like Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers that don't get deep at all, and they just kind of have the edge rushers. That's why the 3 technique nowadays is so special. You look at all the top pass rush teams, they all have a really, really good 3 tech. You look at the Patriots, they got 2 of the best right now. That's a big part of why they're in this game. On the other side, You have Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. They're top 2 tandem, you could argue, in the NFL. So there's a reason why teams are wanting 3 techs, and I could go on this all day.
No, clearly it's a lot of great insight. Yeah. It's stuff that people can check out over. One More Shot is the Substack, the KVN show on YouTube, wherever you want to go and watch that as well. And potentially coming to a team near you where we have no doubt, Kyle, you'll have a massive impact if that's what you choose as the next spot for you. We appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the week out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, fellas. That was the best interview on Radio Row on the Golics. I'm the other Golic. Thanks for checking in, guys.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you guys.
All right, coming up next, a brief departure from football this weekend to celebrate the beginning of the Winter Olympics. We'll take a look at some of our best events next on Golic and Golic. An incredible story of triumph that we celebrate here in Black History Month. Incredibly told there. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. is welcome back in to Golic and Golic. And triumph on the Olympic stage, something we're hoping to see more of here in the coming month. The opening ceremonies for the Winter Olympics underway this afternoon. Now, there had already been Olympic events underway, especially in some of the larger, more tournament-based sports, mixed doubles curling, figure skating, women's ice hockey. Dad, I know you were dialed in the other day. Yes. Our self-professed Olympic freak around here. You got to be just beaming right now knowing, hey, football might end, but we got plenty more on the docket around here for you to watch.
Oh, I'm so excited the Winter Olympics is going on. Yeah, the women's ice hockey team beat Czechoslovakia 5-1. They're the favorites to win it. The U.S. women, the Canadian men are the favorite to win on that side. But I love all the events. Again, the downhill that Lindsey Vaughn is involved with is probably my favorite to watch, men's and women's, of how they are just hurtling down a mountain of snow and ice. Just blows my mind at the speed they go. But I love all of it. Bobsled, the luge, the skeleton, ski jumping. I mean, I love it all. And it all has to do with, obviously, precision, obviously a ton of speed as well. The speed skating track as well. I absolutely dig it.
Yeah, it's an incredible display of athleticism in some of the most adverse conditions, that being winter, which we know as being former Northeasterners is hard at hell sometimes. The competition, again, started February 4th, runs through the 22nd. The opening ceremonies had been going on a lot during the show today, where I saw Andrea Bocelli performing, Mariah Carey in the mix for that as well. Some of the big dates to keep in mind: the gold medal events begin on February 7th, including alpine skiing and downhill, all the things of that nature that you mentioned. We've already seen the allegations and suffered through the headlines of Penisgate. There's the two of us donning the red, white, and blue and what we look like carrying the torch. Honestly, I feel like I would major a lot better in some of those downhill skiing events, given the fact that I'm incredibly aerodynamic. Like we found out yesterday, drag in the right places can help, but I think in your case, in a lot of these, the hair might hurt you.
How would we do in the two-man bobsled? I mean, we have the weight to hurl us down there, but you have to get off, that speed. Oh, nice ski jumping out of you. That's good there. But that's the event we could do together, the two-man bobsled.
Well, I mean, the ski jumping, I would clearly beat you because, again, as we found out yesterday, size in the crotch is a major advantage. But I do think
seriously, that's where we're going?
Listen, it was right there. It was the one close up. I would say on the bobsled, I think we have an advantage because, like you mentioned, we've got the momentum to get it going. You're now much lighter here. You're what, 230 pounds at this point in your life? Yeah. So you're much lighter, and you need the push off the block. That's the one thing I learned is I used to train with a woman who was an Olympic track athlete that went on to compete in the bobsled, and you got to have the legs to push. And now at this point, I'm back healthy again. I'm working out. Me pushing you and using that to create the momentum, we just have to have you in front to absorb the blow, because that's the one thing. I don't want to be the one that gets hurt the most if we crash in here. Your brittle bones are probably more able to absorb it.
That's the thing about the difference between summer and winter Olympics. The crashes in the winter Olympics are way more devastating. I mean, way more, whether you're snowboarding and flying in the air, to obviously downhill skiing, to bobsledding. The skeleton, where you're the only person on a sled going head first down in an icy luge. I mean, my God.
Yeah. You got to be built different for that, and that is not the way I am built. I will be over here with the normies watching figure skating, which is breathtaking as someone that's a child of Blades of Glory. So can't wait to watch all that. Good luck to all the Olympians. Shout out to our buddy Nicole Arbach over there covering it for NBC. We'll check in with her at some point. Coming up next, though, let's check in on some Super Bowl 60 prop bets. Find a place for you to make a little bit of money as we head into the big game this weekend. Next on Golic Golic. Welcome back to Golic Golic. Big game coming up this weekend. I don't know if you've heard. And listen, this is your last chance in a lot of ways to enjoy football, whether it's watching it, appreciating the violence, the strategy, what have you, or your last chance to maybe make a little bit of money, depending on how this season has gone for you here. So for more help on that, Gil Alexander, kind enough to join us now, host of a numbers game weekdays on VSiN. Also, you can check out Beating the Book wherever you get your podcast, and catch the best of Gil's sports betting analysis on vsin.com or their YouTube channel. Gil, happy final weekend of football. How you feeling going into the big game?
You too. Happy final weekend. Feeling good. Ready to have it played, though. Absolutely ready.
Yes, yeah, usually by the end of these 2 weeks, it's a double-edged sword. We're ready to have it played, but then we're sad when it's over because then we have 6 months of downtime.
So true. So true. Mid-February, you're like, where's the football, man? What's going on? Absolutely.
No question. Well, before we get to some of the fun stuff here, Gil, I guess just in general, for most of this week on FanDuel, the Seahawks been about a 4.5-point favorite over the New England Patriots. As you look at the game itself between that and the total here, how are you going about betting this one?
Well, I am one of those who's all in on the Seahawks here. I immediately, when it first came out, I bet it down to 4, thinking that it would soar, thinking that the spread would get to 6, maybe even beyond. Since then, 2 weeks to ponder. I've bet the Seahawks on alt lines as well, 7.5, 10.5. I just view this as it reminds me of the 80s and early 90s when you had dominant NFC teams like San Francisco, the Giants, Washington, Dallas against the Buffaloes and Denvers of the world. Now, New England fans hate hearing that, but if you go to DVOA, which is an advanced stat from Aaron Schatz, this Patriots team are the 16th worst Super Bowl team since 1978, who played the 3rd easiest schedule since 1978. I just think it's going to be a Seattle day. Where it goes from here, I'm pretty shocked it's only 4.5 still, though. That's pretty interesting to me.
I was going to say, because all the metrics and stats kind of line up against New England, how big of an upset, like all time in Super Bowls, would this be if New England were to win?
Well, by spread, not one of the biggest, right?
Right.
So I'm quoting advanced metrics, but those advanced metrics don't necessarily go into what the market feels, obviously, because, it's been the last Super Bowl, and I was pretty shocked because I didn't remember this. The last Super Bowl to have a spread, a closing line bigger than 4.5. You have to go all the way back to the Colts and the Saints when the Colts were favored by 5. That's a long time ago. That's more than a decade ago, a decade and a half. So not by biggest spread. The biggest upset will, you have to go back, in our little area of time now, most recently, obviously the undefeated Patriots as 12-point favorites losing to the Giants. But way back when, of course, Super Bowl III, the Joe Willie Namath Jets beating the Colts. That's the biggest upset of all time, Super Bowl history. This one wouldn't even compare by spread.
All right, there we go. So not going to register quite on that Richter scale, but still fun to keep an eye on there. There's obviously the game itself, but then there's the props. Everyone loves this game because there seems to just be a cavalcade of those. So do you have a few of your favorites going into this weekend for the prop bets?
Well, the simple one, which is not that fun, but is just sort of the most straightforward, is Sam Darnold MVP plus 130. I got it at plus 125. I was a little late on the draw there. But to me, there are very few narratives. There's a very thin path for the Seahawks winning this and Darnold not winning MVP. I really believe the voters will just think to themselves as this goes on, if the Seahawks are dominating, this guy has been the butt of jokes for years. He's been criticized for years. What a great story. We've got to give it to Darnold. I'm not sure the scenario where he doesn't get it. He would have to really play poorly in a low-scoring affair with the Seahawks winning for him not to get it with the Seahawks victory. So if you have the conviction the Seahawks win, Darnold is your MVP. The more fun one, and I don't know how fun you want to get, but I bet the length of the national anthem, guys, which is something that you can do in faraway places. I think it goes over because a choir is going to be involved. Charlie Puth's national anthem, over 122 seconds. I heard choir. I'm like, oh, that's going to marinate. That's going over 122. But in terms of a fun, in terms of a fun football one, there's a bet where you can bet jersey numbers to win to score the first touchdown. Yeah. By the way, great bring your producers here. These are the lengths of previous national anthems. So 2 minutes and 2 seconds is where the Puth anthem is lined. I go over that. First touchdown to be scored, jersey number over under 11.5. I went under and I laid minus 140 on it. So if you think about who are the folks on both teams with jersey numbers under 11.5. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Drake Maye, Keyshawn Boutte, obviously Kenneth Walker as well. So I like the under on first touchdown scored, under jersey number 11.5.
Yeah, that one seems almost like a given. Stephon Diggs as well. That is amazing. How about, and I'm always amazed, I'm not going to lie, going back to the national anthem, they have to practice that. When you practice it, doesn't everybody know what it's going to be? I don't even know how that's a legal bet because it's kind of out there during practice of how long it's going to be.
Well, certain books choose to do it. Certain books don't. Let's establish that for sure. But to your point, though, Mike, is they've had a problem with this, not necessarily with the national anthem, but specifically with the halftime show. A very popular one is what's the first song that's going to be sung this year, obviously by Bad Bunny. That typically has gotten leaked tonight, Friday night-ish, right before the Super Bowl. And the NFL is aware of that leakage, if you will. And they're very sensitive to it. So I'm not sure if we're going to get that leak this year. Much more tight on that one.
I honestly tried to pry that answer out of a security guard at the Kelsey Bowl, and credit to that woman, a complete vault of secrecy. Wouldn't give me a damn thing. So certainly something compelling there. I think that's always going to be interesting here too. Big picture, do you do any of the Gatorade colors, the coin toss, anything like that?
I don't do the coin toss. First of all, if people are laying anything more than like minus 102 juice on the coin toss, please don't do that. Please stop giving a donation to SportsBooks. About the Gatorade, I am not personally betting it. Covers.com did a great job of giving Gatorade stats. This might be of interest to people who are betting Gatorade. It has been pretty evenly distributed over time. In fact, 5 times it has gone orange, blue, clear, yellow, purple, and none 4 times. So there is, if you're looking, and by the way, you shouldn't be looking for Gatorade historical stats, but since you asked, there are your Gatorade historical stats. Yeah, you shouldn't really be doing this. Yes.
The hero shot of Bill Belichick after the game is so deeply disturbing. I'm sorry, Dad. I couldn't let that slide.
Yeah, and he doesn't look happy about it.
No,
one of the props that I had never seen before. Will there be 3 unanswered scores? And that may be out there. I haven't seen that. Is that a common one?
Yeah, it's at FanDuel. It's everywhere. This is. I'm so glad you asked about this because this is honestly, if we could be serious about a prop for a second, this is the prop that flummoxes new bettors or newish bettors the most every year. Will a team score 3 times in a row in the Super Bowl? With the exception of 2-point conversions and extra points. Those are thrown out. But will a team score 3 times in a row? And people usually say to themselves, well, these are the 2 best teams in football, the AFC champ, the NFC champ, in this case, obviously the Patriots and the Seahawks. So they think immediately to themselves, well, that's unlikely to happen, right? These are the 2 best teams in football. And so they think that the minus is in the wrong spot. They think the no should be minus money. When in fact it is properly priced, yes, it happens all the time, guys. Team scores 3 times in a row. So even at minus 166, it kind of borderline with minus 166. Shouldn't go too much higher than that on this. Don't go into the minus 170s. But anything below minus 170, it's actually a good bet to bet yes on this.
All right. You know what? Color me one of the flummoxed uninitiated and very excited to now be on the right side of history with this one. Last one I saw, odds of a shutout at 50-1. Is this something that you can seriously consider, albeit with a really pair of great defenses in this game?
You know, I would put this under the category of fun bet, right? If you are directional in your betting like I am with the Seahawks, let's say you just think, hey, look, Seahawks, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game handily. There has never been a shutout in the history of the Super Bowl. Twice we've seen teams have 3 points, most recently the Rams against the Patriots some years ago, and then there was one Cowboys-Dolphins one back in the 70s. Other than that, that's it. Those are the low marks. We've never had a shutout. So it's never happened before. And honestly, 50-1 is not quite the bang for your buck that you should be getting on this. But, 70-1, 80-1 kind of is. But just for a fun bet, if you have conviction in one direction, it's the last hurrah, guys. It's the last game of the year, 50-1 as a fun bet for the shutout.
There we go. We love a little fun to end the year. Gil, appreciate the time. Enjoy the weekend, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the game.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Gil. All right, well, if we're going to talk about defense here, why don't we talk about another matchup going into this weekend? Yesterday, we did the Seahawks defense versus the Patriots offense. Today, we're going to flip the script and take a look at Sam Darnold's bunch against this Patriots defense that, quite honestly, Dad, has turned into one of the stories of the postseason. They were a group that was by no means the strength of this team during a year where Drake Maye almost won the MVP, and now have turned into a vice grip come postseason time. A lot of credit to that Milton Williams and what he's done coming back healthy up front late in the season to now. But how do you think they match up against this Seahawks offense that had one of its best performances, especially from its quarterback in the NFC title game?
Well, I mean, I think this is going to rely on the schematics and the X's and O's of Zach Kerr, the defensive coordinator. Now, remember, he took over for Terrell Williams, who was the defensive coordinator up to week 2 and then was dealing with prostate cancer and had to leave and get treatment. But he has intermittently been back in the building, which players talk about as a huge boost to have Williams back in the building again. But Zach Kerr took over as a D coordinator, and he calls a very aggressive style of defense. And and again, you look at Christian Gonzalez, an aggressive corner who loves to play physical. You're talking about the interior of the defensive line, Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, who has been an incredible pickup from Philadelphia. He was lost to injury some this year. When he came back, that defense really picked it up. They were 4th in the league in duo interior lineman pressures, and Barmore was a 3rd amongst D tackles overall in the regular season with 54 pressures. So again, both these teams get good push right up the middle, which is really, really big. So again, they play very disciplined. They're aggressive, but they're disciplined. They don't leave a lot of holes. But you do have Jackson Smith and Jigba on the other side, who again is a great receiver and gets open and gets schemed open. So this is another really, really good chess match.
Yeah, you wonder how much of the old Patriot moniker of Bill Belichick taking away that one player that's going to be your best guy and trying to make you beat him with the off-speed pitch, in this case, which would be Cooper Kupp, which is not a bad off-speed pitch, albeit we know past his prime as a great wide receiver in this league. You've also got A.J. Barner at tight end on that side too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they approach him. Will Christian Gonzalez travel? They've played more zone this year. Will they try and attack him with multiple guys, considering how great he's been? It's going to be really interesting. You mentioned, though, the inside, and I'm glad you pointed out the matchup with the defensive tackles for the New England Patriots. And while the Seahawks aren't the Patriots in this stat, according to ESPN research, New England's the first team to start multiple rookies on an offensive line in a Super Bowl. Grey Zabel is a rookie on the other side for Seattle, going up against these great guys. And while he's been awesome this season, was one of my favorite draft picks this last year, it's still a tall task for a young guy on the stage, going up against a group that's playing about as well as any in football here. So going to have his work cut out for him there. The other interesting part to me in this is Sam Darnold. Because when we look at Sam Darnold and who he had been for most of the back half of the season, it had been a passenger on the side of that great defense. The turnovers rampant in those matchups against the Rams until last week, where 2 weeks ago, where Sam Darnold shrugged that off and played probably the best football of his career, considering the stage and considering the opponent. So are you at the point after that where you now trust Sam Darnold to turn it loose in a game of this magnitude?
Yeah, listen, he still obviously throws some interceptions, but the guy is just gaining confidence and gaining the trust of that offense, again, led by the defense. But yeah, I mean, I am inclined from what he's shown to buy into him, especially with the receiver that he has. And quite honestly, the protection. Listen, New England was, I think, tied for 22nd in sacks. They don't get to the quarterback a ton. But what they started doing really up through week 14, they blitzed basically 24% of the time. From week 15 on, they've blitzed 40%. They're really starting to get after it a little more, come after you, be a little more aggressive. Try not to give the quarterback an out to run. And Sam Darnold isn't going to kill you with his legs. Neither one of these quarterbacks is going to run away from you. Drake Maye certainly a little more dangerous for the amount of first downs that he gets. But Sam Darnold can move enough. But the key is obviously not letting these guys out of the pockets.
No, certainly not. I think the big difference, though, in what they'll face when they get there is obviously that back end. You mentioned Patriots defense has changed shape in a lot of ways, but during the regular season, only 8 interceptions, which was 4th fewest in the NFL amongst those secondaries. And we know on their best day in the first half of the season, we flashed the numbers before, 3.5% turnover rate was the worst among qualified quarterbacks in the NFL with Sam Darnold. This is also a team that was incredibly explosive, pushing the ball down the field. And while that waned in recent weeks, reared its head again in that game against the Rams, who secondary-wise had been certainly suspect, talked about down the backstretch of this postseason here. That Patriots secondary is going to have its work cut out for, but Dad, I think going to be the swing state in this. If you can put a lid on it and make them continue to play leaner margin football by pounding the pavement with Ken Walker up front, putting it on that offensive line, you at least give yourself the chance in New England. Because the one thing about both these teams, and I saw this courtesy of Bill Barnwell over at ESPN, Dad, 2 of the best teams in terms of explosive play differential. The gap between teams generated explosive plays and prevented explosive plays on defense. The Patriots, 4th best in the NFL. The Seahawks were the best at 4.7% different in favor of them. So both these teams can push it down the field, but Drake Maye and that Patriots offense did it a lot more consistently all year than I think Sam Darnold in this offense did, albeit for the Patriots, not as much in the postseason. Some of that, I think, weather affected, though.
Yeah. And I'm with you on Kenneth Walker. I since he's had to carry the load himself, it seems like he gets better during the game, right? Kind of like Derrick Henry does, where you're something in the first quarter, but you're even more special in the fourth quarter. And I think this is going to be a low-scoring, close game. So obviously he who controls the ball, really with the running game, is possibly going to control the game. Obviously, it comes down to turnovers again. We know that. So you hope it's a clean game. But I do like Walker, and I like AJ Barner as well, the tight end. I think he's a good security blanket for Sam Darnold, the middle of the field. I kind of like what he's done this year. I think he's underrated.
You're probably right, and certainly was going to fade into the background in the last matchup because the Rams' kink is 3 tight end sets, and we were all going to talk about them. But right. I'm with you. Barner's been an outlet, and again, if all eyes are on JSN, it's going to be incumbent on a couple of those auxiliary pass catchers to make things happen, and he's certainly acquitted himself as one of the best in the league. All right, we got the matchups all laid out there. We got the prop bets all in there. Let's turn the page one last time and get ready to make some picks as we head into Super Bowl 60 next on Golic and Golic. Welcome back. Let's do 4th and Golic before we get you some picks. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr. We've been putting all week off the celebration of some incredible culinary displays of excellence going into the big game because, the Super Bowl is about eats. if you're going to have to weather human contact during the game, at the very least, you're going to go out and brave the world in favor of getting something to eat. And I hope your party has a ketchup keg involved. Heinz is introducing the Keg Chup, a novelty ketchup keg for the big game this weekend. It stands 19 and a half inches tall and holds 114 ounces of ketchup that it dispenses from a spigot. I love anything that can be put in keg form, and I love ketchup, so this, to me, a match made in heaven.
Oh, tapping that keg. Are you kidding me? And I mean, ketchup, one of the great condiments of all time. This is a no-brainer for a big party, right? I mean, you don't have to keep using bottles and squirting out of the bottles and emptying the bottles. This is awesome. Though I have a feeling you better have a pretty big party to use all of this, or you're going to have a keg of ketchup sitting around for a while.
I promise you, I'll find a way to put it to use, because I'm with you. I love ketchup that comes out of a spigot. Like, I don't like the packets. We need to be done with that. Anything that comes out of a spigot like that, even at big time sporting events. And the pump ones are fun, but sometimes you get to the back end of it and it's great. This to me seems good, almost as good as this snack that you and I might have to hunt down at the stadium. May I present the LX Hammerburger? A one-of-a-kind, fall-off-the-bone, tender braised bone-in beef shank, roasted in mirepoix, I don't even know how to pronounce that, demi-glaze, and then the Point Ryu blue cheese fondue on a house-baked brioche bun. It's available near Section 106 in the East Field Club. What I want to know is how they get the bun wrapped around the bone in such a way. I need to see if that happens IRL, if this was just a sexy photo shoot.
That looks unbelievably good, but ungodly messy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to need a ton of napkins. Is that just for a club section, or can you take that to your seat? I mean, if you're in like a suite or something, you have a table, you can kind of get it messy on. But if you're in your seat, all you have is your lap. I mean, I can't imagine we're going to see those in regular seats. I don't know, though. I wonder how much that is.
I'm sure it's obscene price-wise, and it looks worth every bite. I can tell you this. I hope the fine folks in the Westwood One broadcast booth brought napkins, because your boy is going to test the structural integrity of that place expeditiously. Get one of these in the gullet here. Pray if they've got a private bathroom in there, too, for everyone else involved. So you know what I'll be doing in the game, trying to hunt that bad boy down.
You're coming into San Francisco hot tonight.
Hey, you know what? Listen, wise man once said, act like you've been there before. My former teammate, Torian Smith, said, I'm going to act like I'm never going back, because who knows if they'll invite us back ever again after this. With that in mind, let's pick the game. It's Super Bowl 60 coming up. You and I got to make some picks for this weekend here as we finish the day off. So with that being said, Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, Dad, the Seahawks and the Pats are going to play. We've broken it down every which way. Who's your pick? Are you taking him by the number in this one? And who's your MVP in this game?
Yeah, I believe I'm going with Seattle, and especially because of their defense, right? Of how good their defense is, and I think they can run the ball, even though New England has the two-headed monster on the rushing attack. But I like Seattle's offensive line. During the season, they were I think they were in the top 10 for rushing. So I do like what they can do. I'm going to go – I don't know if I'll pick one person on defense, even though I think that's going to lead the team. I'm going to go Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think he is the one that gets open. He is the one Sam Darnold feels most comfortable with. He finds a way to get open, whether it's by route or by scheme. So I'm going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm going to go with Seattle, and I'm going to give the points.
I am as well. I said 24-17 Seattle feels like the sweet spot for me. I think given these defenses, this game probably going to hit the under. You don't have the familiarity that you had with Seattle and the Rams in the NFC round that I think produced all that offense, right? Like, I think those teams just knew each other so well. Seattle attacked the weak places, and the rest was history in a game where the Seahawks defense also gave up a ton of yards and points. I don't think that's going to be the same scenario here. I think this could be a slow churn to start, but I think the Seahawks put that away at the end. And I think I'm going to ride with JSN with you, Dad. There's just something about me, and maybe this is dated software, that I just can't quite get to the hurdle of Super Bowl MVP Sam Darnold being the reality
Yeah.
in my brain,
Yeah.
given everything that we know. So no disrespect to Sam, because we both have you being Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold, which feels like a worthy consolation prize.
I will say, if New England wins this game, I hope they get the respect that they're going to deserve after getting crushed all year for not playing anybody if they end up holding up the Lombardi Trophy.
We'll find out Monday morning here, and then probably that headline on First Take too. Enjoy the game, everyone. We'll be back Monday morning to break it down every which way right here on Golic Golic. Thanks for watching. For more Golic Golic clips, make sure you subscribe to the FanDuel Sports Network YouTube channel.